شمسية يا حجي
Israelis fear the most, the biggest fear of any Israeli in the street, they're afraid of your baby. That's the biggest fear. Guns, suicide bombers, killing, war, everything is fine. They have a big army, don't mind sacrificing a few, soldiers. That's, heroic. But a baby, they can't handle that. And it is very, 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 very racist. They are not afraid of Jewish babies.
The Palestinian.
Can I have a puff of your cigarette? No, just a puff. the Israelis, they don't think of themselves as racist. Well, I'm going to put it very crudely, but if you show this to Israelis, they will get very angry. What I say is that their desire to keep a Jewish majority, or to have a Jewish state, the desire to have a Jewish state is a fascist desire. For me, it's the same as saying we need an Aryan Germany. No difference. And it's a good thing to have a Jewish state for most Jews of the world, including Israeli Jews. You have to have a Jewish state because they will tell you why. Well, because you know what happened in the Second World War. We need a state. I used to think like that until I saw the cost, and I became very angry. I said, not at this cost, absolutely not.
People do not understand me. I was saying Palestine and somebody said, excuse me, Pakistan? So I realized that when I talk about Palestine, I suppose that the whole world knows about it. So what do you mean, Palestine? Sir, I've never heard of. Palestinians are, the rhetoric is about restoring Palestine. Lovely, but many people in the world do not know from whom to restore. Many people in the world do not know that Palestine was taken to restore it.
The Arabs want this place Ukraine. No Jews allowed in Israel. This is Palestine, according to the Arabs. There never was an independent state called Palestine.
Our Arab Palestinian nationalism is just the antithesis and the nemesis of our return to this land. Whatever Independence Day, May 14, 1948, they call al-Nakba, the catastrophe. I mean, whatever is good for us is bad for them. I mean, all the troubles we see, they've brought onto themselves with their hatred for us, their hatred for the West, their hatred for Christians, their hatred for Jews, their hatred for America. They're just full of hatred. They're a death culture. They glorify death and martyrdom. You have young mothers with 15 children. They're ready to sacrifice their sons and daughters to blow up cafes and to blow up buses. Why are buses not being blown up now? Because we have the so-called separation fence that keeps the killers out. Otherwise, they'd still be coming across from Bethlehem or from Hebron, wherever they are, and killing us. So they're all terrorists. The secular terrorists are the Fatah people, and the religious fundamentalist fanatics are the Hamas. They're at war with each other, and we see this as divine retribution. But we're very compassionate. We want peace. We don't fight. You know, when the Messiah comes, then we'll know. Then we'll have control of the third temple will be rebuilt, and so on and so forth.
is the most devastating experience for Palestinians. And it's the key issue not only of the occupation but of a process of displacement that began before the creation of the state. Since 1967, there have been 18,000 houses demolished in the occupied territories, but from 1948 already more than 500 villages were demolished in what now is proper Israel.
I would like to tell everybody to look for our problem, like to look our problem by first in humanity, because it's a humanity problem. It's a tragedy. In 1 year, 2 times demolished our house, and now we try to find a place to live in. We live for 6 months in our friend house, you see before, and after 2 days we must get out from the house. And it's another problem. We are refugees for maybe 5 or 6 times in a year. Just we want you to change the bad idea in America and Europe and everywhere about the Palestinians. There is good people, Palestinian, and good American, and good Israeli people. Also, there is a bad people in Palestine, in Israel, in America, and everywhere. We want to live in peace with Israeli people who like to live in peace. We need new governments, Palestinians and Israeli and American government also. We need to say a change for the best, not for the worst. Just thank you.
The excuse is that the Palestinians are engaging in violence, the Palestinians want to kill us, the Palestinians want to destroy us. And they have been able to convey that justification to their own community by some actions that Palestinians have done in the past. What nonviolence does, it eliminates that excuse. It eliminates the barrier of fear that has been created by Israel. And this is worse than the wall barrier. You know, the wall barrier is a cement wall that would be removed and can be removed. But how do you eliminate that barrier of fear, which the Israeli government wants to keep in the hearts and in the consciousness of its people? By engaging in actions that do not create the justification anymore. And this is what, again, nonviolence does. It exposes the reality of the situation. There are no excuses anymore. There are no justifications
يلا سيارات مو من هنا الجيش
The occupation is based on a strategy. It's built on a strategy. The strategy is to confiscate as much land as possible and at the same time to confine Palestinians to as little territory as possible. What the occupation is doing now is it is really creating concentration camps. I have to say this. Prison camps where Palestinians are living, completely surrounded by walls to prevent them from moving and to control access of anything that goes in and out.
The whole world owe me an answer. Why did you take my land? Am I not enough good human creature like the other? I want to understand what justification is in the world that my son, Jabur, is not eligible to his father's land. What we need is to sit down together and talk about it. To tell the Israelis, you don't have the right to take my land. In front of the whole world.
I believe that Israel has, or is very quickly approaching, a policy of ethnically cleansing, or I should say, implementing the third phase of ethnically cleansing the Palestinians. But this phase is a little bit different. In 1948 and in 1967, both wars, and both caused a Palestinian refugees to be existing following those wars because people fled the war. Both of those were very bloody incidents. What's happening today is what I call a sturo-ethnic cleansing. It's policies that take the shape and the form of administrative decisions, but at the end of the day, it's resulting in Palestinians being forced to voluntarily leave the country.
We are in Hebron. Hebron is one of the West Bank cities which was occupied in 67 after the occupation of the West Bank. And the Israelis start to settle and to start to put their settlement and to build their spots in between Palestinian and residential houses. We are here actually in the beginning of the old city. We are in the main entrances of one of the entrances to the old city, which lead us to the core of the city. As you can see, the Israelis are expanding and they are dividing and they are widening their settlement and their checkpoints more and more. They are replacing the Palestinian with Israeli, and they want to build a new Jewish neighborhood, a new Israeli neighborhood. Actually, they have it, but they want to widen this in between Palestinian and residential areas. But we have what I personally can say is the silent wall. There is a division, there is a separation without any announcement, without any media about this. We have about 850 shops closed by military order. We have the streets which we are not allowed to walk and to drive. As you see, most of the shops and the area are closed in this area.
all this unfortunate, painful blood that is spilled in vain. We lost so many beautiful people on both sides, innocent. Why should they lose their lives? What for? And when they lost their precious lives, did we achieve anything? No, we are still in square one. Even sometimes go much behind. We existed here at least 3,000 years ago, from 3,000 years ago. We have been here. My family, my ancestors, and so on and so on. Then Zionist movement came and said, oh, when we came to Shafa Amar, it was empty, there was no one. I'm sorry to say that this is a myth that was created by the Zionist movement. And I'm sorry to say that this myth is not going to help any side.
In East Jerusalem alone, there are 10,000 demolition orders. And it would really look very bad if they demolished 10,000 houses one day in Jerusalem. So, slowly 100 houses a year. And the method is random. So 10,000 families live in constant fear that maybe their house is next.
أنا بدي أحكي عن قصتي في هذا البيت. كنت قبل 10 سنوات ما كنتش في البلد، كان أملي من وأنا صغيرة أبني بيت في هذه الأرض، لأني أنا بحب هاي المنطقة وبحب أعيش فيها. اشتغلنا كثير وكافحنا لحد ما صار معي ثمن اللي أبني فيه بيت صغير في هاي الأرض. طبعا هاي الأرض أنا أخذتها من أبوي ومن جدي، هي أرضي. حاولت بعد جهد كبير أنا وزوجي وأولادي وبنينا بيت صغير، لكن تفاجأنا إن القوات الإسرائيلية بعد 3 سنوات، طبعا كنا خلالها نروح للمحكمة ونروح ونرجع، حكموا البيت هدم من أول يوم. رحنا للمحكمة حكمونا 100,000 شيكل غرامة على أساس إنه البيت مبني بدون ترخيص. حاولنا إن احنا نعمل ترخيص من بلدية القدس، لكن ما بيعطونا تراخيص. حاولنا كثير معاهم، طبعا 100,000 شيكل كثير علي، يمكن بدي 100 سنة ما بلم 100,000 شيكل. لما زوجي رفض يدفع المبلغ لأنه لا يملك المبلغ، حبسوه لمدة شهر، وبعد ما حبسوه أجوا، كان البيت صار له 3 سنين مبني، أجوا هدموه. لغاية بعض ناس يعني في البلد، ناس الحمد لله لسه الدنيا فيها خير، ساعدونا ولموا فلوس وبنوا لنا البيت كمان مرة. الحمد لله إن البيت انبنى كمان مرة، ورجعت أنا وولادي لبيتي وكنا مبسوطين كثير. لكن بعد أسبوع ما سكننا البيت، رجعوا بلدية القدس كمان، رجعوا جابوا لنا قرار بهدم البيت خلال 24 ساعة. نفس المأساة، نفس التراجيديا، نفس المشكلة. طلعونا من البيت، رموا أغراضنا برا، كسروا كل إشي. هم صحيح بيجيبوا عمال يطلعوا العفش والأغراض، ولكن بيطلعوه بطريقة همجية، بكسروا كل شيء. تشردنا من 3 مرة، نعتبر لاجئين للمرة الثالثة يعني.
You cannot solve any conflict by military means, by militant means. The only way to solve a problem is to negotiate, to talk about it, to think together to find solutions. So seeing all this irrationality going on for years and years, and as you know, this is the most painful, long conflict in modern history. It has been going on long before 1948. And our simple conclusion that all the wars that happened between Jews and Arabs did not solve the problem. On the contrary, it complicated it. What I am saying to both Israelis and Palestinians, try peace but once. If you don't like it, you can always go back to war.
فوق الجدار، ننزل تحت وبعدين نطلع من السلم. والشبكة محطوط شبكة نط، بنط بحط السلم، بطلع من غد وبنط تحت. شبكة تطلع على الجدار، بدي اطلع على الجدار، بحط اجري فوق اجري، شايف اجري زي المرطوان. بحط اجري بصل لك فوق وبعد بنزل. كيف تحصل على الزبالات؟ I don't like you all because it's crazy in a wall.
هالجدار بقى جوا هالملعب يا محلانا نلعب فيه، بس اجوا هالجيش الاسرائيلي خربوا علينا، حشوا بزبل بتطلي. شو كمان؟ وانت شو صار معك في عوفر؟ شو صار معك في عوفر؟ انحبسنا. انحبست؟ شو سووا لك؟ ذبحونا. في المسكوبية شو سووا لك؟ هرقدونا. هرقدوك شايفة؟ على المشاهدين. وبكى حنون أعزائي المشاهدين، نقدم لكم مع عطية دانس.
كيف حالك والله؟
والله الحمد لله، بدنا سلامتك. عرفنا عن الجدار، انت شعورك.
create the conditions that force people to leave voluntarily. So by blockading us, by sanctioning the Palestinian people, never in history has it happened where the occupied people are under sanctions, by holding our tax money, by holding our resources, by disrupting our ability to travel, all of that together is creating the conditions where, as I said in the beginning, around 44% of our population, our male population, desires to emigrate.
All Israelis are nice, normal human beings, and they really, really desire the existence of this Jewish state with all their heart. Okay, if you want to be like all the other countries in the world, fine, act like them. You know, you say you wanted to be the same, you didn't want to be special anymore, you wanted to be the same like all the nations, that was the Zionist discourse, fine. Be democratic, give rights to everyone, same rights. That's the game that the Western democracies play, is that the civil rights of the citizens are equal. That's a democracy.
Let us have the courage and say, we both existed. We both want to exist. And we both shall exist in a peaceful way.
We are standing on Palestinian land. And this land belongs to Palestinian farmer. And this land belongs to every Palestinian. This is my land as much as it is the farmer's land. And I have the right to be here because I'm invited by the farmer to be on this land. This is success. For the first time since they started building the wall, we have been able to reach to this spot to cultivate our trees and to take care of this land. And the message is very clear. No matter what you do, no matter what the Israeli army does, no matter what the settlers do, this is Palestinian land, and their presence here is completely illegal and unjust. Yes, we will start here with one day, but nothing will prevent us from coming to this land.
حاول تخرج المواطن. لا ما هو انا بقول له فريد يبعد انا واضح بقول له فريد بقى فريد بلاش تطلع هذا اللي مسويها فريد وضرب عند الدوله شو بتزينوا فيه قاعدين؟ يا اخوان المصارى حقه هذا اللي بترموا فيه مش دارين؟ الله راح بالسلام مصارى حقه يا اخوان
شوفوا احنا كيف نعطيهم السلام. شوفوا احنا كيف نعطيهم. شوفوا احنا كيف نعطيهم السلام.
وين راح الحج وائل؟ اقدح يا حج وائل اقدح. يلا يلا. ايه كاميرا كاميرا كاميرا.
The only protection out of losing control is peace. And as I said in most of my books, peace is the only safe border. It's not the war. The war is not going to protect. Berlin Wall, all the lines in the world, in the military lines, the war lines, Maginot, even the Israelis' Bar-Lev line in Sinai, they were broken through easily. And by the way, missiles do not care for walls today. They can fly over any high wall you want.
While I come and work every day, I couldn't do anything else in my life. I cannot call myself Jewish, know what's going on, and not do anything about it. History has taught the world that keeping silent makes you an accomplice of the crime. I get very, very, very angry when people know what's going on and they are afraid of speaking out because I don't want to be called anti-Semitic by the Jews. I get very angry because in Second World War, those who did help the Jews, they were risking their lives. And here, okay, Jews are going to call you anti-Semitic, so what? You know, it's, I think, justice is higher value than your personal reputation.
قصتنا ايش؟ ضربتنا قذيفه، ايش ضربونا صاروخ، احنا مش امنين لاولادنا ويطلعوا برا في الشارع، مش امنين على حالنا نعيش زي الناس، ليش احنا محرومين الحياه نعيشها زي الناس، زي الدول العربيه، يصير لنا دوله ويصير لنا اولادنا يقروا في مدارس زي الناس، ناكل زي الناس، احنا جعانين، شعب جعان، شعب مظلوم، شعب مهيون، شعب ما فيش حريه عندنا، شعب يعني احنا والميتين بالسوا، احنا ميتين احنا مع الموتى، هذا حرام. احنا بنطلب من الامريكان يساعدونا من الظلم اللي الصهيون، هي الصهيون الجيش الصهيوني 17 دبابه هي بتخلع في الشجر، هذا هي انا تطلع انت شوف بعينك، جرفوا الشجر، جرفوا المنادمين، هدوا الدور على اصحابها، الصحراء الميتين الموتى جرفوها. ايش حياه وهذا كله بصير فينا؟ ايش حياه؟ هذا مش حياه. هججونا من وطننا، هججونا من بلادنا، احنا اصحاب الحق واصحاب الحريه، احنا واصحاب القرار، احنا هم يصيروا ياخذوا وطننا وياخذوا ارضنا وياخذوا مالنا وبعدين كمان يقتلوا اولادنا، شبابنا ماتوا، طفالنا ماتوا، ايش ذنبنا احنا في هذا الكلام؟ الطفل الصغير ابو سنه بموت، المراه هي اولادها بيبقوا نايمين تنهد الدار عليها، هذا حرام، هذا ظلم، افتراء. احنا بدنا من الرئيس تاعكم، بنطلب من الرئيس تاعكم يساعدنا ويطلعنا من الظلم هذا، من الاحتلال الصهيوني المفتري اللي قاعد بيقصف بالطيارات وبالدبابات وبالقذايف، واحنا شعب اعزل فيش في ايدينا حاجه.
We want everybody to know that us Israelis with Jewish money, we oppose the occupation. We are rebuilding every house that the government destroys. This is an act of civil disobedience. Every little house we build is illegal, is a crime. And we are willing to push it as much as needed to break it, to break the system.
I'm happy because I came to my home.
ومثل ما حكيت صعب الإنسان يوصف بالكلمات الشعور أو الإحساس اللي كان بحس فيه، لكن هم بيحكمونا بالقوة، يعني مش بالعقل، بيحكمونا بالقوة. طبعا بعد هدم البيت تشردنا وتشتتنا مرة ثانية. هم لما بيجوا ما بعطوا موعد للناس إن أنا جاي في يوم كذا في ساعة كذا على أساس الإنسان يستعد، ما بعطوا موعد، بيجوا فجأة. يعني حتى الغابة فيها قوانين، عند الحيوانات في قوانين، ممكن حيوان يأكل حيوان آخر، لكن فيش حيوان بيروح يهدم بيت حيوان هيك بدون سبب. يعني شو بدي أحكي يعني. والحمد لله الآن كل شيء تغير، يعني تقدروا تشوفوني مبسوطة الحمد لله إني أنا في بيتي هلا. أتمنى إن ما يرجعوا علينا كمان مرة ويهدموا لنا البيت. أتمنى إن هذا البيت يضل للأبد إلي ولأولادي. أتمنى إن أولادي يعيشوا باستقرار زي باقي العالم، زي باقي الناس، نعيش باستقرار وأمان في البيت. وإن شاء الله في النهاية يعني بحب أقول إن شاء الله إن إحنا نعيش بسلام. إحنا الناس وشعب بنحب السلام، ما بنحب القتل والعنف، بنحب السلام، نعيش بسلام. بحب أعيش أنا وأسرتي في بيت بسلام، بحب نعيش أولادي يتعلموا أحسن تعليم، زوجي يلاقي شغل حتى يقدر يصرف على البيت، يعني مش أكثر. إحنا مش طمعانين ولا في إشي، إلا إحنا نعيش حياة زي باقي الناس، مثل كل الناس، إن إحنا نعيش في بيت مستقر، حياة هادئة مطمئنة.
The hope that I see, it's many. There are many instances of hope. First, the way Palestinians welcome me and other Israeli Jews into their hearts and their homes. And I exercise the most racist law of all. The most racist law of all is the law of return, because all the people that were never here are allowed to return to this country. According to the Israeli law of return, if you have a Jewish grandparent, you're allowed to return. And a Palestinian will never be allowed to return. That's the most racist law in this country.
I am so optimistic, and this is what keeps me going, that I want to see peace in my lifetime. And it will happen, because the other things are crazy. This is the only sane thing, peace and so on. And then I have hope in many great Jewish men and women. And I want to make it clear that this is wrong not to think that among the Jewish people are great men and women, idealistic great men. And on the Palestinian side, on my people's side, there are great Palestinian men and women. Great Palestinian, and this is what gives me hope.
And I say this to my Palestinian friends. I say, you know, I have no connection to this land. I am Mexican. I only have a little paper that says I'm Jewish, and that's why I have all the privileges, and I am the oppressor. And the Palestinians answer me in Bethlehem. They said, Lucia, if all the Jews are like you, they're all welcome. And every time I have a Palestinian saying, you know what? You're more Palestinian than Israeli. In fact, you're an honorary Palestinian. I say, but I'm Jewish. They say, so what? You can be a Mexican Palestinian Jew? That's the problem. So the warmth and the love of Palestinians as to me as an Israeli Jew, is amazing. And I see that also when I see Jewish people that are deeply hurt by what's going on, and they completely understand that the Palestinian cause has to be today's Jewish cause, because the country calls itself Jewish, because it is the Jewish people that are doing that. Then that's the only hope that I see, but not just for Palestinians, but for Judaism itself.